In this video, I just want to run through some changes to the way states are handled in this latest build of Cantabile. So this is build 4151, which is where these changes have been introduced. This is an older build that has the old behavior, just to show the difference. So the first thing is, if I had a song here which has got a couple of states, just create a couple of states here. When you add a new object to a rack or a song that has existing states, the behavior used to be to try and remove this object from the other states. So for instance, I've added this plugin here while state 2 is active. If I switch back to state 1, you can see it's disabled everything to try and restore things to the way things were when state 1 was saved. Now, the problem with this approach is that you end up with states that don't have any saved information, and so depending which state you're coming from and to, you might end up with different settings in these objects depending on where you've come from. So it made things a little bit unpredictable and, to be honest, a little bit frustrating to work with. So what I've done for this build now is, let me just do the same thing here. Just add the same plugin again. So I've added this object now while state 2 is active. What happens now is any new objects that are added here, instead of the other states just being left blank from their current state, the state of these objects is now copied into all of these other states. So if I switch back to state 1 now, you'll see that it's still enabled as it was. And even more so, if I just, let me take this object out again and I'll show you. Let's say I was to go into here and add this plugin. Right now, both of these states have been updated so that these objects are enabled. If I was to disable this object, this route here, for example, it's only disabling it now in state 2. If I was to switch back to state 1, it gets reverted back to the state it was when it was inserted, which was enabled. Okay, so it means that when you insert new objects in here, the state they're inserted in is how all the states will be updated. It means you need to run through these states and update them, which you can either do manually one at a time, or if, for example, you wanted this to be disabled everywhere, then you could go through and you could do an update all states on here, and then they'll be updated. That'll be disabled in all the states. So there's that. So the idea here is to try and get a well-defined state saved for every object in every state so that things are more predictable. That's the first change. The second change relates to the way these state behaviors work. In the old build, when you enable a state, so let's say, for example, on this route here, let's say I was to enable this gain level, so it was turned off for some reason. When you enable it, the state information that's saved in each of these is just whatever it happened to be last time it was saved, regardless of whether this was enabled or not. So when you switch to another state, the value you actually get for that behavior is a little bit unpredictable. In this version, what I've changed is when you enable a behavior, so the first time, well, not even the first time, every time you enable a behavior, what it does is it basically does an automatic update all states. So the value of this gain level, when I turn this on, the value of that gain level gets written into every state, and then every state has a known good state for the way things are. So turning a state behavior off and on is now effectively the same as doing an update all states, and it means again that everything is more well defined, more controlled, and less unpredictable. That's the two changes. I think most of the time you probably won't even notice that there's anything that different, except that maybe things feel a bit more stable and a bit less unpredictable.